Welcome to Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast, where they analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games.
This is Cowabungie, and this is Cowabongo. But the turtles for your 16-bit system are Cowabunga! Holy cow, it's Turtles in Time! The cool arcade game for Super NES, now with tasty turtle duels. And psych up your Sega Genesis with the Hyper Stone Heist and all new 3D Turtle Crash. So remember, this is Cowabingo. But the turtles for Super NES and Sega Genesis are...
Cowabunga, dude.
Hey guys, welcome to the Podtendo podcast, your bi-weekly, I guess really only once a month we kind of do a full show, so monthly, let's call it monthly right now, look back on old Nintendo games. I think we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. Maybe that's what I was supposed to say. Again, I should probably write this down. We are a Let's Play review, retrospective pop culture show, so we're going to look at all those things today. You can contact us by email at podtendo@gmail.com or on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast, as well as we're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube in some capacity. So if you reach out, look on those venues, you might find some semblance of us. I am your co-host for today's show, Mick, and I'm joined every episode by my lovely co-host,
Tyson.
You know, look at that. We're 4 years of pros at this point, working on season 5. We talked about that a couple months ago, but still kind of those things you have to go back and reflect on, and you're like, huh, that's weird.
Yep, I guess we're seniors in university terms.
Yeah. And like all things, if you do things long enough, you start finding weird coincidences. So today's show, if you're tuning in, you know it is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. 2 or 3 years ago, we did almost the exact same lineup where we did a Turtles game followed by another game. So if you want to know what our next show is, you can go back, scroll through our timeline, find the last time we did a Turtles game, and you know which show, what game we're playing next. So, spoilers. But you also have to dig for that one, so you have to work for that spoiler.
Yeah, you got to scroll back in your podcast feeds, but it shouldn't be too bad. We don't have a ton of episodes, but we got a few, so you might have to scroll at least like once or twice.
There you go. Nice. So with that, all's good on your end? All's good on my end? I guess that was a question. I just kind of made it a statement. Is all good on your end?
Yes. Yeah, everything's all good on my end. Rocking my new Switch a little bit. Haven't really got too much time into it, but I'm going to take some vacation, so it will become a good friend of mine.
Great. Awesome.
How about yourself? Are you still good?
Yeah, I'm just cleaning up my library of games that I have for the Switch. I'm just going back and playing through a lot of the titles that just kind of sat and collected dust on the shelf. I'm down to 2 or so titles. I've done a lot for my PlayStation, so a lot of good times with the old video games, you know?
Absolutely. And now's the time. Especially with everybody still trying to quarantine as much as we can. So it's a good time to dust off those video games that you're like, I haven't quite got around to, so...
Yeah, I should go back and listen to our... Because we did like an Apocalypse episode, just games to play in the Apocalypse or something like that. And I'm curious how many of those games I've actually played. Because I went through a ton. Like, I cleaned house on video games for the last couple months. So it'd be interesting to see, like, how complete was that list for myself? Was it a good use... Like, if I listened to it in the future, was it useful?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Who knows how long this thing is going to last. So I'm sure we will probably have more time as opposed to less time.
Yeah, and maybe I'll go on a Podtendo listen with some extra free time if I have any. So, but enough of that. Let's look at today's game specifically, and again, that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. It was developed by Konami. The sales for this game, it was not one of the top 50 selling games for the SNES, so I cannot find the info online, which meant it sold less than 1 million copies, which I find hard to believe. It was released August 15th, 1992. How Long to Beat has this game at 1.5 hours. Price at release was $49.99, and if you had factored in inflation, that'd be $81.05. eBay price, you can get a copy of this game for $80, anywhere up to $200, and the eShop price. It is not available on any eShop. However, there was an updated version released in 2009, but that version has since been removed due to legal issues.
Yeah, and that one was actually not very good. It was like an Xbox, or on Xbox Live arcade when I played it, and it was it really left a sour taste in my mouth. Like, I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this game in particular. And I specifically remember having a really rough time enjoying the Xbox release. So I'm kind of happy that it just kind of gone away into the ether and no one will ever play it again, because it wasn't as good as this one. It was kind of bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I found so randomly, I have a Retro Duo, so it's a SNES and an NES kind of cartridge. You plug in the SNES in one cartridge or one slot, the NES games in the other, and you turn a power button up or down, gets going. As well as, and I have a pirated SNES cart that has every single Super Nintendo game on it, so was able to play this on the big screen. Exciting stuff.
Yes. Well, I know we have maybe this physical copy kicking around somewhere, because I was thinking about, man, this could be awesome to have on the shelf, but
yeah,
I think I need more bookshelves before I can get around to that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know, some of our games just disappeared. I don't know, like our Super Nintendo, our Game Boy collections, maybe we sold them, traded them, they walked away, they're in a box somewhere.
Yeah, I know our Game Gear is somewhere particular. I think I know where it is, or I think I know who has it, I should say.
Okay, interesting. All right, so with that, what we're going to do is we usually like to get into the mindsets now that you have kind of the vital stats, the need-to-know info off the top of the show. We're going to go back into our Wayback Machine. It's patented. It's Podtendo's only. We're going to travel back to August 15th, 1992, and ask the age-old question. Do you want to live in this time? We start off by asking Tyson, what is your favorite show? Could it be The Simpsons Season 2, Episode 24, Brother, Can You Spare 2 Dimes? Homer's brother, Herb, returns to ask for help getting his life back on track, since Homer basically destroyed him after their first meeting. Or X-Men Season 1, Episode 1, Night of the Sentinels, Part 1. The X-Men come to rescue a young mutant named Jubilee, who is recaptured later in the episode, and the X-Men go after the group responsible. So of those two shows, Tyson, what would you rather watch?
Wow, we got a tough one. Man, this Simpson episode is good. Herb, as Homer's brother, is fantastic. He's a great, sub-character, and this is, peak Simpsons. And this episode is actually really funny. The whole process of him making a device to show that he can actually, you can understand what babies say, and it's just brilliant. If that was an actual thing, it'd be brilliant. But this is also the beginning of X-Men, and I am a huge X-Men fan. I'm a little bit more DC than Marvel, but X-Men's kind of they sneak into that top list for sure. And on a side note, I actually did just pick up the guys, the art style that this animation style was used was actually done by the Chris Claremont Jim Lee run in comics. So, and I just grabbed all the number ones for that, which are cheap because it's the number one selling comic. So it's not I spent a bunch of money. They're cheap.
Great.
But I have to kind of go X-Men. This is just right up my alley right now. So
nice. I even had that queued up. So good job, X-Men.
Previously on X-Men.
Maybe one of the better theme songs from the 90s as well, so
yeah,
kudos, X-Men.
Yeah, and aged well. Not having cheesy lyrics does go very, very far in sustainability. There's some 90s cartoons that you're like, I can't even get back into it because I can't even get through the theme song. It's too cheesy.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But good job, X-Men. So start of that, it probably started, I think, September. But I figured August was close enough to kind of cheat that one in there. Other top TV shows you could be watching in 1992 are Murphy Brown, Roseanne, Seinfeld, Cheers, The Cosby Show, and Murder, She Wrote.
Interesting. This is stuff that I would never watch as a kid, but as you get older, you're like, actually, some of these shows aren't terrible. I didn't really like Seinfeld as a kid, and as I get older, I feel I can relate a lot more to their...
Well, it's adult situations. You don't have to worry about close talkers when you're a kid, because you don't know those things. We don't have those weird hang-ups that we do as adults. Well, top cartoons. You'd be watching The Addams Family, Batman, the animated series, The Legend of White Fang, Eek the Cat, Goof Troop, and Wild West, Cowboys of Moo Mesa.
Oh, this is prime cartoons. These are great. Heck, even Legend of White Fang. Yeah, it's still not bad. Eek the Cat, a little bit goofy, but I like it. Who doesn't love Goof Troop? Even though it's can be pretty boring some episodes when they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, Max cheated on the test." Not fun. But Cowboys of Moon Mesa, who doesn't love a good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ripoff? And probably coming down the pipe is some Street Sharks. Lots of good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ripoffs. But Batman the Animated Series, come on, like that's
Yeah.
like one of the best cartoons of all time. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've heard that one's good. I have trouble watching that. So actually, I just went back and I've been watching some of the X-Men on Disney Plus. Some of them are okay. Some of the episodes hold up. There's one that, like, the Beyond Good and Evil, the 4-part series with Apocalypse, where he captures all these psychics. It's confusing now. It's confusing as a kid. But for some reason, yeah, Batman, I think I have them all on a flash drive somewhere. And I try and watch a couple episodes, and I'm like, this episode sucks. So I think you have to be, like, picky. I'm sure there's some Batman the Animated Series episodes that are, like, outstanding, but there's probably a lot of sludge to kind of get through.
oh yeah, and unfortunately, this is not when a lot of anime The Simpsons kind of really kickstarted the whole investment into animation. Right now, we were kind of getting like oh hey, you want to start writing a TV show? Yeah, you're joining this pool of writers on this cartoon. So it wasn't let's say the experienced veterans that we're used to nowadays. So, but I just love the art. I could watch it.
Oh,
all
yeah,
day.
yeah.
So
Yeah, no, fair enough. All right, how about top movies from August 1992? We've got Single White Female came out this week. The week before this, we saw Unforgiven, Death Becomes Her, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. And if you waited, you could see Honeymoon in Vegas, Pet Sematary 2, and Twin Peaks. Fire walks with me.
oh, well, I'm happy. I got a Western, I got a Vampire Slayer, I got like a classic, also kind of terrifying. I'm still freaked out by the ants and Honey, I Blew Up the Kids.
Yeah.
Sorry, or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I guess this is the sequel with the giant baby, so it's not as good, but it's...
But I think there's like a scary like giant bunny. Like I think his bunny when he gets big is also kind of terrifying. So
Oh, definitely.
yeah. How about top video games? So it did come out very close to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist for some reason. That like very very close. I couldn't pinpoint the exact date. I looked back at kind of other games that were released, and this one kept popping up. So they might have released 2 games on 2 different consoles for the Turtles. Weird. Also, Mario Kart came out around here. Ultima, Rune of Virtue, Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder, and Tasmania.
Not too bad, not too bad. I never played the first Ultima, but I know it started the franchise, so...
I feel like this probably isn't the first Ultima 92. This might be a multiple version, no? Because it's not just Ultima, it's like Ultima, Rune of Virtue. So it might be iteration 6 or something, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm super out of the Ultima loop. That was a bit before our time, so I would have to have really gone back to...
Well, I mean,
experience
considering
it.
our video game experience basically started at this time, so like this is our jump-in point essentially as kids, everything before this is before our time.
Yeah, I think this is one of our first games. Same with Mario Kart, so yeah, probably all around that same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And then finally, we'll look at the top 3 songs before we ultimately decide, do we want to go back and live there? So number 3 songs, according to the Billboard charts, was Jump by Criss Cross. That song, but yep, good job. How about the number 2 song is I'll Be There by Mariah Carey. It sounds familiar. I don't know that particular version of that song, though, for some reason.
Yeah, must be not the part of the song I would recognize. But hey, good to know we're in the '90s, so we have Mariah Carey, this time it's Mariah Carey, not just Janet Jackson. So I feel like we're in a good place.
Hey, don't spoil. Number one song could be Janet Jackson. It's not, however, though. According to the Billboard charts, the number one song for August 15th, 1992 was Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. I wonder how many people's names are Sir in pop culture. So you got Sir Mix-a-Lot. Are there other people that like gave themselves a name that was a knighthood?
I'm sure there's one or two.
Or is he number one on the Billboard charts, and he's also number one in people that gave themselves names that are also a knighthood? Does he get number one on both those lists? That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think he's the pioneer for both, for sure.
Great.
And he's also the pioneer for writing music about guys that like big butts.
It's true.
I mean, that guy he's a trailblazer.
Very, very true. So, ultimate question, do we want to go back and live in this time? Lukewarm on it. It's better than most times, but it's not great.
Yeah, I like it, for sure. The music could, be improved. But we got lots of cool stuff going on actually in '92. So '93 is going to be also pretty dope. Yeah. I'm kind of leaning a little bit more yes than I am no. That's for sure.
All right, nice. No, that is out of the way. We know what the cultural landscape. If you were alive back then, awesome. If you think that '92 was the Wild West, maybe you learned something that it wasn't, as we actually had technology back then. So if you're that young and you think that way, that makes me always feel so old. Great, awesome. Moving on to the development details of this game. It looks like I have a couple walls of text, so I will read through this, and then we can kind of look at the game proper. So, the original music of the game's soundtrack was composed by Mitsukaku Izumi, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle veteran who also composed the music for the previous arcade games in the series. It was arranged for the Super Nintendo NES version by Hazuhiro Aurora, and I'm just terrible at I'm not even going to butcher that last guy's name. I'm sorry. Both of whom went on to produce several Konami games, including the following Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, Tournament Fighters. The 2005 version of the game included the Mutant Nightmare feature, new music, and voice updated to match the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. This was also the case for the Turtles in Time Reshelled edition. The Super Nintendo NES version was retitled Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time in North America and Australia, and Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles 4 Turtles in Time in Europe, in order to continue the numbering for the first three games on the NES, despite the fact that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 The Manhattan Project was never released in the PAL version. That is really important information, and if I didn't tell you that, you would be like, what? Why is the numbering system so different there? Much like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game for the NES, conversion of the first arcade game, the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time has some notable differences in presentation. While the SNES version is missing some animations and graphic effects of the arcade, it is more extensive use of the SNES's Mode 7 forward scrolling effects in the Neon Knight Riders level. It also features the option to give each turtle a unique skin tone, most memorably the throw move involving the foot soldiers being thrown directly at the camera and hitting the screen occasionally. Various alterations were made to the SNES version's gameplay. While the original arcade was set in the year 1991, the SNES version opens in 1992. Sewer surfing and Neon Knight Riders was changed to a bonus level of sorts, and the Technodrome stage was added. Several enemies were changed in the SNES version. 5 new bosses were added: Slash, who replaced Cement Man, the Rat King, Battle Tank Shredder, and the duo of Bebop and Rocksteady, who replaced Toka and Razor, who were moved to the new Technodrome level. The game also replaces the final boss with Super Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, who previously appeared in the Manhattan Projects for the NES. The SNES version also added 2 regular enemies, Roadkill Rodney, which replaced the boxing robots, and Mouser. Whew! Done. There you go. So those are all the development details. Did you learn anything?
Yeah. Well, man, this this game, there's so much to unpack with it. Like, it's kind of crazy that, yeah, this was the 4th game for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on, like, the Nintendo consoles. And I always remember, like, oh, I gotta go back and replay them. And then you realize that there's literally it's just randomly numbered as they went. It wasn't like, well,
there was 4.
There's 4.
Right? Like, there was the first one we played on
Yep.
this podcast. The second one was just an arcade game.
Yep.
Nothing special. The third one was the Manhattan Project, which I feel like maybe I've played once. I feel like you start maybe in a burning building.
Nah, that's number 2.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever played number 3 then.
Yeah, it's the, like, black sheep of the group. But
Okay.
I don't know. I just think it's, like, kind of ridiculous the way they just, like, slap numbers on there. It, like, feels to me like we got another Final Fantasy situation on our hand where it's just at least with Final Fantasy games it made sense. It's the continuation of a series. This was just like, no, we franchised it. Now you need to know that there's 4 other games just in case you might want to go buy those other ones.
I would think this game, though, kind of lives beyond the numbering system, because in my mind, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. Or if you said Turtles in Time, I know which game you're talking about. I don't ever think of it as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4. So that's just me. Like, the numbering mechanics, yeah, it does seem kind of just super arbitrary.
Yeah, but actually getting into the game of it, it's nice that they kind of expanded and added some levels to this game. And I love how it kind of progresses, but I think I might save my thoughts on that until a little bit later, just because I really like the way it's laid out. And coming to this with a little more of a, like, analytical eye, it's interesting to see the choices they make. But one final shout out, it's like the music of this game is timeless. So the composer did an amazing job, and I think a lot of these tunes have not been really, like, reused, but we still recognize them as completely related to Ninja Turtles, so it's very cool.
Nice. So let's look at the control section. It's pretty standard beat 'em up. You move around in an isometric level. The directional pad moves you, Y attacks, B jumps, select pauses. There is a special attack, but it also eats up your health. You can select one of the 4 turtles. Leo is the most balanced. Mikey has the greatest regular attack and defense, but less special skills. Donnie has the greatest special attack, but is slow. And Raph has the greatest speed and special attack, but below average regular attack and defense. So apparently Mikey would probably be the optimal choice, especially assuming you're not going to use special skills.
Yeah, and that's why I think a lot of people... And range does come into effect, so Leo and Don both have really good range. Mike has, like, mediocre range, and Raph's got trash range. So me, as being a Raph fan, I always picked him and had the hardest time. And then I just, like, switched to Donatello, and they're like, man, this game is so easy and fun. But, so it does actually make a big difference, and I think that if you are struggling in this game, which some people sometimes do, it's like, just pick literally Leo or Donnie or Mike. Just avoid Raph. And that was always my mistake whenever I played this game. So
Well, it'd be interesting to see, because I know there was skills in the original Ninja Turtle game that we talked about for the NES a couple years ago, and I'd be curious to see if they kept those traits kind of similar, right? So they figured Leo's balance, and they kind of went through all the stages and just kind of kept the same stats through all 4 of these iterations of, like, early games, right?
yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they just kind of kept almost like the same, not class, but almost like they just kind of classified them, like Leo's your all-rounder, and it'd be interesting to see, because I know that probably
so interesting. I didn't even think of that until I just read that sentence, and I'm just talking about it now. Will I ever go back? I don't know.
Maybe one of our listeners, if you're really ambitious, please send us this, because I wouldn't mind knowing the answer. So
all right, there you go. You'll have to fight the foot soldiers, which come in various colors and have special attacks, some robots, and Rockman. Note, I just kind of knocked the Rockman off the screen and spam attack until they were destroyed. There are you can catapult the foot soldiers, but you have to kind of press Y while holding the D-pad while you're close to them, and that'll shoot them at the screen. It apparently is a very simple skill once you kind of figure out the button inputs to figure out. It makes the Shredder attack in his battle tank very simple. I struggled a little bit. You can eat pizza to restore your health and gain a temporary spin attack. There is an easy, normal, and hard mode, as well as you can control how many lives you start with. I think as well as, continues are based on the mode. So there you go.
Yep, and I think you get 5 continues on easy, and
I think it's 3, and you get 8 continues on hard.
oh, maybe.
Yeah. Well, like easy, we can talk about it. I didn't use any continues. I barely used all 9 of my lives. It was easy, very easy.
Yeah, no, this game's not super
Super
hard
hard, no.
by today's standards anymore. Like maybe when you're an awkward kid and you don't really have the greatest hand-eye coordination.
If there's 2 people, like if I had a friend and I was playing, I could definitely go on hard mode and wrap it. It was just a matter of by myself. I was like, well, I just want to get through this game, and then at least I can talk about something rather than kill myself. And then kind of forgot about it, and just I've been busy and haven't got back to it. So there you go. So that's kind of ends the control section of this game. Makes sense for the most part.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Let's go on to our first memories section. So we were both turtle crazy as kids. We had the majority of the first toy lines, minus 1 or 2 figures, and 1 or 2 vehicles. Both our parents helped install kind of materialism very quickly in us as children. As a result, this title ended up in our collection pretty quickly. I don't know how we got it, if it was a gift, maybe it was just like a special treat during an outing. And as you can imagine, we spent numerous hours playing through this game. We would play one player, team up with friends, or we'd have like 5 or 10 kids in a room trying to take down this title in an afternoon. No idea what happened to our SNES collection as we grew up. Maybe it's sold. Maybe it's just sitting there. Maybe someone like quote unquote borrowed it. And then due to growing up with this game and the premise being one of my favorites, this game has a very fond place in my heart. Hey, so what kind of first memories do you got?
Yeah, I remember just playing this game incessantly because this was like one of our like in rotation games. Like we had some games like F-Zero that I know we barely touched. I played a little bit of it, but it's kind of collecting more dust than, let's say, a Super Mario game. But should say Mario game, not Super Mario. And yeah, this game, Turtles were a big part of our childhood. They were one of our favorite cartoons. Like this would just be a game that you throw on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning or whatever, and you're just hanging out, enjoying it. Yeah, I just remember playing this game incessantly and always struggling with Raph. That was the real struggles. And then I think I switched to Leonardo when I actually beat it for the first time. So
yeah,
he was either Leonardo or Donnie. I can't remember.
Yeah, well, I remember I was playing this a couple years ago when I had my ROM, and I must have had that cartridge or something. I think we sat there, we got to Super Shredder. I don't know if we beat the game though.
No, I think I died because again I was probably rocking Raph like a jackass.
Yeah, something like that. Anyways, yeah. So, kind of that's it. Did we miss anything with first memories?
I'm sure we probably go on about a couple fun anecdotes, but this game, it definitely just is in the pinnacle. Like, I mean, I think we both put it on our Super Nintendo top 10 lists because it's a beat 'em up, so there's not a lot to it, and you can really wrap it in a day. But I think it's the nostalgic factor, it's the fun factor, it's the be able to just pick up and play, and I could play the Manhattan level a million times. So it's just fun, great characters, good game. So
nice, sweet. So let's move on to the actual let's play section of the show and start with the story. So the Turtles are shown to be watching TV on a TV or a Sunday evening. There's a TV newscast on with April O'Neil reporting from the Statue of Liberty. Suddenly, Krang flies in using his giant exosuit and steals the Statue of Liberty. Moments before, Shredder hijacks the airways to laugh at the Turtles.
Yeah. You ever just realize how big Krang actually is, considering like how big he's blown up in that scene? It's not like he just has a really, really large suit. It's like, no, he just regular old modeled him, so he has to be gigantic. He's like the size of a building. But other than that, it's good times. Like, not you don't need a lot of story to get into this game. You just gotta know Shredder's up to no good.
No, and at one point too, I don't know if I wrote this, maybe I'm spoiling later on the podcast, but why did they steal the Statue of Liberty? What was the point? And I went on some forums, and pretty much the general consensus was it's a campy 90s cartoon show for kids. That there is no reason. They're campy villains. They steal stuff because you're like, oh, yeah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah. They steal stuff so the good guys can stop them.
That's it. That's it. So moving on. So on to the level note. So we start out in the very first iconic level, Big Apple, 3 a.m. This is a very short intro level. There are only a few foot soldiers to fight, a wrecking ball, and Krang's eyes as environmental damage. And the boss of this area is Baxter Stockman, the Flyman himself. You can attack him while he's in the air, but just avoid his attacks and wait for him to land on the ground before you unleash hell.
Yeah, pretty straightforward early level. Lots of pizza, a couple exploding barrels. You know, you kind of get used to there's going to be a lot of things kind of going on in the environment that I got to be aware of, and there's not too many foot soldiers, but they mix it up, so it's not just like you're fighting the generic guy all the way through. You kind of start to realize that you're going to be being thrown a bunch of different variety, and it's just a good intro level. Like, it's a standard beat 'em up, get to the end, and the bad guy is very, very telegraphs his attacks, so it's good, easy to pick up on the patterns.
Yeah, nice. Now, for some reason, I guess it's like that was that night. The next morning, we're on Alley Cat Blues. So it's another short level. We're in kind of a back alley, walking down streets of New York. They introduce a few robots, and you can fall into manholes. The boss here is Metalhead. He will attack you with his long hands and feet, as well as a gun, and you can just kind of attack in between his attacks. He's pretty easy.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Another funner level. And it's cool the way sometimes you fall into the manholes. Like, hey, it's dark in here. So it's cute. They like to throw in a little bit almost of like the comic book style mixed in with the video, mixed in with the cartoon. So I really dig it. I think the aesthetics that they're going for is really cool.
Yeah, these first two levels definitely stand out. I feel like as kids it was hard to get through. Playing through, honestly, I was very surprised by how short Big Apple 3 a.m. and Alley Cat Blues actually was, because in my mind this was like a long journey. It maybe took me 3 minutes, relatively easy gameplay, and I was like, oh, obviously I'm very bad at video games as a child, so great.
Yeah, I think you also just running around taking a lot of damage.
Which makes sense, because I mean I was able to wrap Mario 64 in maybe a couple days as an adult, and as a kid that was impossible to do. So
yeah, and it's funny, you had way more time as kids, so skills do speak for themselves as you get older.
Yeah. So on to sewer surfing. So in this level, you ride a surfboard. You can attack foot soldiers, collect pizzas, and chunky cheese pizza monsters. Afterwards, you'll get a bonus score based on how well you did. You'll fight the Rat King on his foot ski. Attack the middle of the foot ski until he launches mines. Then you just kind of hide at the top of the screen. And if you were me, you'll lose 1 life right before you defeat him. And that's kind of a reoccurring theme in my playthrough, where I had like one more inkling of health, one more attack on the boss, they would kill me. I was like, damn it, that sucks. Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh. We did kind of forget to mention how the bosses, when they start getting low on health, they'll kind of like start spasming out, and it almost like picks up their animation, and their pattern kind of like speeds up while they're like in really low health. So kind of amps it up a little bit. But as soon as you see them injured, you're just like, I gotta go for the kill. So and who doesn't love the chunky cheese pizzas that are jumping out of the water in this one? It just reminds me of Aliens. So cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty what it looks like. Xenomorphs coming at you for no reason. It's now one of the new levels exclusively only on the Super Nintendo. We have the Technodrome. Let's kick shell. There's a long hallway filled with some enemies. Nothing super noteworthy. The first round of bosses is Toka and Razor. You can focus your attacks on one of them or spread it out. Toka will freeze you, while Razor can burn you. I had to use one of my first continues here during my first playthrough, and I was like, yeah, great. Then I played around with the options and had no issues with my second. So obviously I was playing on normal, used it continue in the Technodrome, and then I played on easy, and I didn't use any continues. Great. After that fight, though, there's an elevator gauntlet, and then we have to fight Shredder in the battle tank. This fight seems very random, and I know there's that practice or that throw mechanic. It's just kind of tough. Very cool boss fight, and they stole it from Battletoads, which we talked about earlier this year.
Yes. Very cool. This was the part I was kind of hinting at earlier about how when you're playing this game, you're like, wow, we're already at the Technodrome. Like, we are destroying this game. And it's kind of disappointing because it's a little short. So, like, you're kind of like, it's a little bit bittersweet because it kind of feels like a final level, but not quite. Especially, like, the double boss in it. You're just like, oh, okay, cool. This is clearly ramping up to something. And then the Shredder in a battle tank, it is pretty fun, but you also kind of feel like, I really wish I could just, like, kind of get my hands on him. He's sitting in that that tank like a cheap, and it's I did not understand how to throw like the foot soldiers towards the screen for years until I like looked it up, and you're like, oh, this is a lot easier than I was making it out to be.
Yes. Yeah, I guess if you know the button combinations. I got through it without it and just kind of button mashed best I could, kind of avoided his attacks. Not super awful, but afterwards Shredder jumps into the screen that's in the background and says, I'm going to send you through a time warp, ha ha ha. And we get sent back to the prehistoric Turtlesaurus level, which happened something like 5 million BC or something like that. And you're like, wow, crazy.
Yeah. Well, I remember like seeing the little turtles getting shrunken, and with the spinning Mode 5 graphics was like so blown
Mode
away.
7.
Yeah,
Mode 5.
Mode 5,
Come
whatever
on.
it is. Whatever it is. You know what I mean.
Yep.
But it was just like, you look so goofy, but it's a really kind of neat effect that they do, and then you're like, now we're on an adventure. I see where this is going. So it's kind of, I really like this transition.
Yeah, it's good. And then, from this point, this always seemed like, especially when we were children, getting through the Technodrome was such a monumental thing. And if you had really good at video games, maybe you could get to this pirate ship level, the second one. But that was pretty much it. Versus, on this playthrough, kind of breezed through it for the most part. So, good job, me. I mean, I also noted that I decreased the difficulty and cheated, so great. Yeah. So we are in dinosaur times. This is the first intro of the Rockman. They're tough, but not too bad. I would also recommend jumping over the running dinos. And I thought I've lost continue during this level, but I managed to get an extra life. I think I killed enough enemies that I kind of bumped up and did not lose any, so great. The boss here was Slash. You just kind of jump attack him and attack him when you see an opening. I don't think he actually attacked me.
Yeah, he just kind of jumps around and slashes sporadically. He's one of the easier bosses, but has one of the coolest designs, because it's like, oh, we're fighting another turtle. So I really like this level. You get to see a whole bunch of new-ish enemies, less foot soldiers and more like actual. I like the Rockman. It's a good introduction, so it makes you feel like you're kind of in a whole different world as opposed to just in New York.
Bumping up the old. What are they called? Stakes. Bumping up the stakes.
Yep. Taking it one step higher.
Good old hangovers, making you forget words. On to the next level, we're Skull and Crossbones. I don't know how many million years BC this was, but it's probably a couple. When were pirates? A million years ago? Million years BC? So we're in a million years BC with pirates. You have to make your way across a pirate ship. There are loose floorboards, archers, and rockmen. Wasn't too bad. I'm sure you could die here. I think I got another level and just kind of held on to that continue as best I could. The boss here was Bebop and Rocksteady, and they're pretty simple, and I think once you take down Rocksteady, he just beats up Bebop for you. So instead of like Taka and Razor, where you have to kind of spread out your attacks and kill both of them, I'm pretty sure if you beat one, you beat both.
Yeah, and like they just like, and they're kind of neat little things, but it makes it very kind of funny the way they handle it. I remember as a kid, you were just kind of like trying to handle both, and then you kill one and they just like take out each other, and like, well, that was not what I was expecting, but it was very fitting for these characters. So yeah, I'm glad that they included it.
Oh, and apparently, so I did have one continue in this playthrough. So basically, I had one life, just let myself get killed at the beginning, started a whole new bank of lives, and I was laughing all the way to the bank. So we're on to the next level. Bury my shell at Wounded Knee. You have to make your way along a train. Not super hard. Not a lot going on as compared to the arcade version. So if you look at any arcade graphics, the backgrounds are very illustrated. These ones are pretty sparse. Outside of, other than the enemies, the backgrounds are just kind of looks like you're in a boring train. The boss here is Leatherhead. You attack him when he's standing up, let him run across the screen, and attack him. Repeat.
Yeah, and it's funny, he like stands up and gets to like a boxing pose, but like he never throws a punch.
Yeah. Well, he's not a very good boxer, I guess. He's waiting for his opening.
Yeah.
Like a good boxer.
Oh,
yeah, there you go. Yeah. So on to the next level. So Neon Knight Riders. Now I believe we're headed to the future. We're in like 3000, year 3000 or something. So it's our second bonus level of the game. You can attack foot soldiers. There's heli soldiers for bonus points. And the boss here is Krang's android body. Just kind of jump attack him in the air and avoid his bombs.
Yeah, this is a really cool use of the Mode 5 graphics.
Mode 7.
Mode 7, whatever.
Well, I told you 5 minutes ago. Clearly, you were not listening,
I said
and you
so.
got defensive.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yep, no.
I always died at this one as a kid. This was the level that I
Yeah.
remember I could never ever get past. And I saw
Yeah.
like someone else like playing on Starbase. It was like, is that what comes after that bloody level that I suck at? And I like it's a fun level, but I always feel like it sucks to die on a bonus level basically. So.
Yes, that would suck. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Then we're on to, like Jason alluded to, Starbase, where no turtle has gone before. This is the final level area of the game. I had 6 lives. I wonder how I did. There are some floor and wall lasers. Nothing too crazy. And pretty standard. Lots of foot soldiers. The boss here is Krang in a UFO. He's very easy. Just jump attack him. At a certain point, he kind of deploys little robots. Once they are defeated, he kind of returns and you can attack him again and repeat.
Yep. Pretty neat little thing. I like the futuristic setting and how there's like kind of traps set up that you got to be aware of, but it's nothing too hard or too fancy. I think that there's one spot that's kind of tricky right before you get to Krang that has lots of lasers going on.
I think so, and you kind of have to time your attacks so you avoid, because they kind of come in a pattern, like they move from the top down in like grids of 5, these lasers that will attack you, and you just have to avoid them, but also keep defeating the Foot Clan so you can keep advancing.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of like almost like, not platforming, but a little bit like positioning while you're playing, so it's fun. I think it's a neat little addition to keep you, just ramp up the difficulty one step higher.
Nice. And then finally, we're on to the Technodrome, the final shell shock. This is the final level. It's just a boss. I had 4 lives. It's Super Shredder. You wait him for a charge up and attack. He either attacks green, blue ice, or red fire, and then just kind of attack him. It's pretty simple. I don't think I took very little damage at all. And then you win the game. Hooray!
Yeah, looks really cool. Has probably the best sprite in the game, most detailed. He looks like he just came from the WWE. So it's a lot of fun. I really like this final boss battle, and it's nice that the way they kind of do the final one, how there's like the 2 bosses like Krang and then Shredder, and you actually get to like get your hands on them as opposed to just throwing foot soldiers at the screen.
Yeah. Very, very, very nice. So then the ending, if you beat the game on easy, Splinter tells you to try it again on normal. If you beat it on normal, he tells you to try it on hard. And if you beat it on hard, you see the turtles returning the Statue of Liberty on the news. You get the credits. Splinter... Oh, I think if you beat it on normal, you do get that ending. And that's it. And then he says, "You're a true ninja. Hooray." Really butchered that one, Mick. Good job.
It's okay. These endings kind of suck.
It was actually really crappy. I watched it and I was like, I don't know if I want to play it on a higher difficulty just for that, you know?
Yeah, it's not worth it. This game is more about the journey than it is the destination, and I think that's what makes it stand out so well among any game. Like, even modern games or anything like that. It's like this game, the like mechanic, the game mechanic loop or whatever it is, it's tight, it's fun, it's easy to pick up, it's got a lot of variety in it, but it's literally the same game loop. So it's this game, I don't care about the ending. As soon as you beat Super Shredder, you know you've accomplished it, and that was the real challenge.
That is it. Nice. So then how about current thoughts of this game? So I was super excited that I got my RetroGen working and found my SNES cart that had most of these SNES games on it. Playing it on a TV was awesome. This game is such a part of my nostalgia and my childhood. I don't know if I can say anything bad about it. It's a very tight beat 'em up that brings tons of elements from the TV series, and I recommend it for any fans of the 90s Turtles or even new Turtle fans. So if there's kids out there, if there's a way you can get access to this game without spending $200, I would say give it a try. Maybe try an emulator. If you really like it, maybe invest money into an actual physical copy or something like that. But it is super neat. Apparently it's unlockable in the Mutant Saga or something, which is available on the Xbox 3DS something. And if you beat this newer Turtles game, you can unlock this game. So there is actually ways of you getting it with just having access to a 3DS.
Oh, well, there you go. Man, this game, so good, so much fun. It's just a lot of nostalgia baked in good music with quick levels that, like, you know, as our attention spans get shorter and shorter, this game's also, like, it just seems to be the perfect pace for that. where you are
Yep.
never stuck in one area long enough. Where like, oh, I don't want to grind through this. You're always feeling like you're progressing. You're always making movement forward, and it's just this was beat 'em ups at its peak, and it's such a dead art. There's not a lot of like, I know Streets of Rage 4 just came out this year, which is really cool. It's done by like I think some of the original team members, but it's like besides that it's been just like this genre has just been like left alone, and unfortunately it can be applied to really neat ideas, and it's cool the way they incorporated comic stuff, the cartoon, the movies, and some original ideas all in this neat little package, and they just presented it to us, and yeah, if you're a Turtles fan, this is a must.
Yeah. Well said indeed. And how about what would I change? So unless something came up during our discussion, I don't know. I don't have anything. It's a good challenge. It's fun. Reminds me of the show from my childhood. Great.
Yeah, it's got co-op back when co-op was a thing.
Yep. How about a new version where you can play four players at once online with your friends?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, see, they have that. It's called the arcade game, because there was actually two versions of this arcade game. I'll go off on a side tangent. And the one was, it just had two joysticks, so you just have two turtles, but one actually had four. And that was, I think, based off the same kind of structure as the X-Men arcade when that came out, because I think they also had the four. So very, very cool. And I mean, I guess technically if you want to play a different version of this game, but you haven't, you've played this game to death and you want to try something else, and you can't find the Xbox one, which just avoid. Try the arcades. Yep. Like they are slightly different.
Yeah.
So.
Talking about that, I was just wondering, I was like, I wonder if we should almost have a how to play section. So we talk about different versions of this game that are available and accessibility. So right off the top of the show, if you're interested in playing this game at some point, right? Like you listen to us and you're like, oh, I like that they like this game or something. How can I play? So maybe that's a note, how to play section. So look at like whether it's an unlockable in this other game, or there's a version for the PS2 that you can buy or something like that. So
yeah, especially when these kind of older, harder retro games to find, yeah, I think that would probably be a good thing, and I'm sure listeners, you might appreciate it, but I think it'd be fun to kind of just talk about just to ourselves.
There you go. And even something like Evo, right? Like we look at Evo, how can you play it? Nowhere. There is no way of playing this game. Emulate it if you wish to play it. Do not pay more than $100 for this game.
Yeah, and especially because it's Evo, it's a fun game to pick up and play.
So this game,
masterpiece.
Yeah, like this game, there's that whatever Mutant Project or whatever it's called. It was a game that's on the 3DS. Buy it. You can unlock this version of the game there. That's how I would say the best like legal way to play this game outside of having a physical copy.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm sure you could probably pick up one of those for like a fraction of the cost of the $80 to buy the loose card.
Oh, so. I was looking at one for $25. I was like, I should buy this. So, And then finally, are you buying it? And then we're done with the review of the show. So why did they steal the Statue of Liberty? We already discussed. Shredder was ultimately trying to flush out the turtles so he could send them into a time warp? Well, that's a pretty good explanation. Or was it that the original show was a campy kids cartoon and had no other explanation that they are evil?
You know, I like to think that, it was probably the campy kids cartoon. But let's say Shredder was actually had his head together and actually came up with a decent plan for a change, and that's what the whole thing was. That's why he didn't actually engage the turtles. He actually was sitting back ready for them as if he was prepared, and had that whole like trap room set up. So
sneaky little butthole. Never would have suspected it. So there, that ends our review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. Good job by us. It was on at least Tyson's top 10. I guess we should go back and look at our Super Nintendo top 10 games. Maybe do another list at some point.
Yeah, we should do a revamp one. We could do it maybe at the end of this, or maybe when we fully kind of transition over to the N64. I know we're basically almost there, so this might...
I'd go back, just see if there's any games we have to knock on. I know Donkey Kong Country 2's on mine. Other than that, I think we probably have the majority of them finished, right? So.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Super Ghouls and Ghosts is calling my name for some reason.
We played it.
But don't remind me.
We played it last year with Super Castlevania, so we already did it. Yay!
God, that game. I still feel stupid for having that on my top 10 list.
Yeah. So that kind of ends our show. And programming note, we only have 52 minutes, which essentially is right now in the podcast, left of time allotment for when this show comes out, just based on the way it works, unless I want to push this show's release back to a Saturday rather than the Friday. So you might be getting a double Final Fantasy, like part 6, part 7, and this might be coming out back to back with another show. Just FYI.
Easy.
If anyone cares.
Nah.
Yeah.
Mix it
I don't know
up.
if I care that much. I might just move this to like later July. So there you go. There you go. I just noticed that. So then finally we'll end with our cultural significance. This might take up a lot of time. So I don't think we're going to be able to do this in like 2 minutes because there's a lot to go on. So cultural significance. So in this section, we look at game tropes, marketing tactics, interesting stories. We talk about how this game relates, give other examples, and try and tie it all back together in the end. I realize that we may never talk about Turtles again on this podcast. We could look at the other NES games if we really wanted, maybe some of the newer titles, but unless we like consciously decide here and now to do some more games, this could be it. And that kind of left me with a dilemma. Do we just give an ode to the Turtles, a big farewell to our shelled friends? Do we look at the original series, maybe with a time travel lens, right? Do we review subsequent entries from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? We look at like the different cartoons, the live actions. And after a day or two, I kind of said, you know what, let's put a bookmark in the Turtles for now. Maybe we'll look at the movies in the near future. So if you're still with us and you're listening, essentially we have 3 shows coming up. We're going to do Crisis Core, Part 1 and 2, and then we're going to look at Dirge of Cerberus for Final Fantasy VII. Or do we want to audible and say, do we want to look at the original 3 Ninja Turtles movie and do a side quest cinema for the rest of the summer?
Well, they are just released on Canadian Netflix. I don't know about American Netflix. I don't live in America.
Yeah.
So that's a good possibility. However, if we do that, then by the end of 2020, we're basically all out of Turtles content unless we want to go and do like a first few episodes of the Turtle cartoon. But I feel like we already did talk about the Turtles cartoon at some point.
I think just briefly, though, but I was also thinking at some point, maybe instead of side quest cinemas, we look at cartoons, right? So we'll do a couple Turtles, or we do X-Men or something like that, because I don't know if podcasts are really touching on those topics. So we do have those options, as well as those other games. So we technically don't have to end the Turtles. But, so something to think about, Tyson. I'll leave that one in your hands. You can kind of think about it. Would you rather play more Final Fantasy games, or do some side quest cinema Turtle games?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You know, I'm always down for movie reviews, but it would be nice to kind of wrap up the Final Fantasy and keep it all in the same year, so it's nice and tight. But, you know, we'll think on it. And if anyone has any preferences, reach out to us. We're easy to get a hold of.
Let us know. You can be the deciding factor, Internet.
You can choose if Robin lives or dies, just like in DC Comics.
Nice. I don't know if I mentioned this somewhere. I have a lot of wall of text here, but I was trying to figure out, is there evidence that the Turtles time traveled before this game? And of course there is. The third, spoilers, Turtles movie, they go back to ancient Japan, so of course they time travel. Silly. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be kind of doing piece by piece, looking at each level of the game, and then I have a fun trip where Tyson and I are going to look at old Turtle toys and talk to you about them, and you can follow along at home with them. So that's going to be the last little section. It's just going back in time and looking at pictures of old Turtles toys. Ready for this?
Ready.
All right, so let's look at each individual landmark area of the game and talk culturally significant, how they apply. So we'll start with New York City. So I did a little research, and I have 2 buildings that we could be fighting on. So Big Apple, 3 a.m. We're fighting on this big overlooking building. We see some various landmarks. We end looking at the harbor where we see the Statue of Liberty that isn't there. So there's a couple buildings here. I said 2. I think I'm up to 4. So I actually have a picture of one of them. So we have some clues. We are looking at a tall building south of Central Park that can view the Chrysler Building, Empire State Building, and finally the Statue of Liberty in the upper New York Bay. So the first one is 4 Times Square. So it's the right location, but construction didn't start until 1996. This game is set in 1992, so we're looking at buildings that were built late 80s, maybe finished early 90s. And then the second one is the Park Hyatt. It was built in the early 90s, so that's a good time frame. Maybe they were still constructing a little bit, as well as the other clues fit that one. And now that we have the clues, maybe we can do the detective work. So I did a little myself. Where are they? The other ones could be City Spire Center One World Plaza, America's Tower, or the Four Seasons Hotel in New York. So one of those 6 buildings that I just mentioned there could be the actual location of where we were fighting in Turtles in Time.
Dang, look at you understanding your New York geography.
Yeah, there you go. See, all I have to do is travel to the city once, and I know everything about it.
Well,
so, good job,
and
me.
play the Spider-Man games.
That helps a lot, too, actually, understand everything. So, there you go. What about the second one? The New York City Sewers, which happens to be the home of the Turtles, which was pretty standard for heroes at the time to have a base. Other examples would be the Avengers Mansion, Power Ranger Command Center, the Hall of Justice, Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, the Fortress of Solitude, the Batcave, Ghostbusters Firehouse, and the G.I. Joe base.
Yeah, dang. Heck, even the Transformers had a base.
They did, and I feel like it jumped around a little bit, too.
I feel like,
right?
like they got attacked and they had to move.
Yeah, but like if you're a 90s kid, you need, or like 90s toy line, you need a base, right, to be able to sell some toys. So there's just a couple examples. Now, if we look at the next location, the Technodrome is the polar opposite of the sewer, and it's the famous villain's lair. So other famous lairs are Dr. Wily's hideout, Cobra Command Station, Blodefeld's hollowed-out volcano from You Only Live Twice, Ozymandias' Antarctic Retreat, Dr. Evil's various lairs, Asteroid M, Cobra Command Center, I said that one twice, shoot, and the Death Star.
Yeah. Yep. And you notice that the good guys, they always have like kind of like a very simple, relaxing place, like a mansion or like a hall of justice or, you know, something that's like very clean. But then you go to like the bad guys and it's always very techy and there's always like lots of, and it's in a very weird place. Yeah, so very cool, very cool. Got a shout out for Blofeld, so James Bond. That ticks that off the old to-do list. But yeah, very cool. And you definitely need a good villain layer to match with the good guy layer, because how else are you going to sell more toys? That's all what these things were about back in the day. It's like you need to, yeah, especially because we had the Technodrome, so it worked.
Yep. Very, very true. How about prehistoric times? So, say there are a few dinosaurs, which, say for a few dinosaurs, which for the late 80s and 90s is very satisfying. Everyone and their dog was big into dinosaurs. I don't know what that sentence was to be. Basically, prehistoric times. It's everyone did dinosaurs, so yeah, dinosaurs.
Yeah, Jurassic Park came out and was the biggest movie in the world, and basically just jump started a bunch of paleontologists. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was like the craze, and everybody needed dinosaurs, and heck, even Toronto caught the craze of dinosaurs.
That's right.
So
that's why they're called raptors.
It really is. Thanks, Jurassic Park.
How about the ships seen in Skull and Crossbones levels are a good example of famous pirate ships. Some of the best pop culture pirate ships are Captain Hook's ship, the Black Stash, the Black Pearl from Pirates of the Caribbean, and finally, not a ship, but the Pittsburgh Pirates are pretty cool.
Yep.
You know, I think I'm a lot funnier than I probably am, so fuck you, Mick. Fuck you for writing that comment.
Well, you know, who doesn't want to be a Pittsburgh Pirate?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, black and yellow is pretty sharp looking, right?
It is. Like, it's a really good color scheme. Like, they got that down. Now, if only the play on the field could look as good as the colors do. But, you know, they got canon.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
They've got cool stuff. How about Bury My Shell at Wounded Knee is a reference to the 1970 book Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, an Indian history of the American West. This book expresses details of the history of the American expansion from a point of view of that of a Native American. And to make you feel better, the Battle of Wounded Knee was a domestic massacre of several hundred Lakota Indians, almost half of whom were women and children.
Gosh, you really got to bring out those child-friendly historical references. But maybe this is trying to bring light to be like, hey kids, you should research this massacre. It's a pretty terrible part of our history. So maybe
good job by us.
Maybe that was it, and not they just thought it was a funny turtle pun.
Yeah, I don't know. don't know. And then finally, how about we end out on time travel experiences by going into the future? And some of the best representations of the future are Hill Valley in 2015 from Back to the Future 2, New York, New York from New York from Futurama, the future where humans have tried to kill all the mutants in Days of Future Past. I hate those mutant bastards so much.
Well, X-Men were the bad guys. No, wait, it was the Sentinels that were the bad guys.
Oh, shoot.
No.
All right.
No.
No.
But still, Back to the Future, excellent.
Yeah.
Who didn't want a hoverboard, even though, 2019 came and went, or 2018, whatever the date was, came and went, and we still don't have good hoverboards. We have things that say they're hoverboards, but they don't hover, so...
It's true.
False advertising.
It's a lie. It's true. I mean, they can't go over water, unless, of course, they have power. Has anyone tried to put power on a hoverboard and go over a pond?
Well, I don't think anyone's built the Bulldog yet, and that one has the drip jets built in, so we gotta wait for the Bulldog. That's probably coming out later this year.
That's it. So that kind of ends our cultural significance for Turtles in Time. And that kind of just ends our look back at history from this point of game. It relies heavily on our pop culture knowledge and has become of our pop culture history. And that is culturally significant. So we are done. If you don't want to listen anymore, bye. See you guys. If you want to look at toy pictures with us of the next, or pictures of toys for the next, 5 minutes, continue listening by all means. But if not, see you guys in 2 weeks. More than likely, we're doing another numbered show. So that's exciting. And go from there. And if you do want to follow along, and Tyson, I would recommend you go to TMNTtoys.com and follow along right now.
Okay. I'm going.
All right, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at toys from the 1989 series that are evidence of time travel. So on the top page, this is the Virtual Ninja Turtle Museum. You'll scroll down to the bottom and you can click on the first icon that says the original line of 1989. And we're going to click on that, which then gives us a bunch of little links.
Nice.
So I want to thank TMNTtoys.com, the Virtual Turtle Toy Museum, for providing me visuals for this list. I encourage each of you to check it out. I had a lot of fun going and looking at just all the different toys that I had or I wanted. It's a great nostalgic trip to the past. So we're going to start out with Leo, the Sewer Samurai from the Disguised Turtle line. So if you scroll down, you should see Disguised Turtle line somewhere.
Yep.
Basic Assortment.
Yep.
Click on that and you get Leo the Sewer Samurai. Maybe it means he went back to ancient Japan.
Yep. Very cool.
Right.
Very cool.
Definitely a toy that we had at some point. So.
Yeah, and I believe we also had the Donatello, the undercover turtle, and I want to say we also had Mikey the sewer surfer, but we definitely did not have Raph.
No, not those ones. Now, how about if we go to Wacky Wild West Turtles? Wacky Wild West Turtles. Wacky Wild West Turtles.
Oh, nice. Yep, they definitely did.
Is that really... Oh, yeah, they're there. Yep.
Yeah.
So we have... Let's see, we've got Mikey the Mexican, Donnie the Cowboy, Lito the Native American, and Ralph the Pioneer.
Yep.
I feel like maybe we had Donatello on this one.
Man, yeah, we definitely didn't have any of the others, but the Donatello one looks familiar. I feel like we lost his hat, though.
Yes, that sounds about right. And our next section that we're going to look at is we're going to go into the military, or the Mutant Military 2 line.
Oh, nice.
And then in here we've got... looks like Mike is dressed as a Union soldier, and I had to look. That's different from a Confederate soldier, so Mike was on the right side of the war. Good job. Leo is part of the cavalry, and Bebop and Rocksteady have a World War I/World War II military vibe.
Yeah, we got Delta Team Dawn, Yankee Doodle Raph, then Cookie Cavalry Leo, and Navy SEAL Mike, who's just in scuba gear.
Yeah, that one looks a little bit more modern, right? And I think Donatello could be a bit more modern. Leo, just kind of looks like he's maybe a little bit of a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
And then 2 more lines. So if we scroll down, we'll find the cave turtles. So this is what would happen if the turtles were prehistoric and de-evolved a little bit and rode dinosaurs.
Oh, sick.
I believe there's another one. If we scroll down a little bit, there's some more. Because I saw a bunch of them. And we had a lot of the turtle toys. Or a lot of the cave turtles. So there's underneath like farm turtles, there's another cave turtle line. And that's going to be Donnie with an upright dinosaur, Leo with a little stegosaurus. Raph looks like he has a pterodon that he flies on, and then there's a stegosaurus that Mikey rides. And we definitely had all of those toys.
Yeah, we absolutely did. Man. And I remember the Leo one was just a better quality. Like the other ones were almost like a harder plastic, but the Triceratops was way sturdier and actually almost like a softer rubber.
Yeah, exactly. A hard plastic, and they weren't like as pliable or movable, so it was kind of boring to play with those ones. But I think so. Leo must have came out first. It was a successful toy line, so then they launched the others.
Yeah.
All right, and then finally, if you scroll down just a little bit, you get to the Shogun line, and here is, I think, the final example of just what would happen if the Turtles, probably based on the movie, based on just kind of the way that Splinter and April O'Neil with her like real-looking hair looks like, awful, but they're all dressed as samurais again, or ancient Japanese warriors.
Yeah, and it's really cool that there's you kind of got like are the Triceratons a thing? Yeah, they are a Shogun Triceraton, so that's what they're kicking around. So, man, the animated cartoon's been going on for a while. It kind of looks funny, like the Shogun armor almost looks a little bit like tinfoil. It's very like shiny and reflecty, at least they are in the pictures. So I'm sure that they did not stay shiny and reflecty for forever.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're like us and you collected lots of turtle toys or had lots of turtle toys, you go to this website, spend, I don't know, a couple minutes going around being like, yep, had that. There's another section called Warriors of the Forgotten Sewer. If you click on that, it does look like maybe they're kind of ancient, maybe time travel, but you do have Donatello as a dwarf. Leo is kind of like a barbarian hero, and then Bebop and Rocksteady as a minotaur, and then just kind of like an old guard, so more kind of a Greek mythology than actual time travel. So
You know, this is actually really neat little website, because the people that do it are just very, very clean. There's not a lot of ads, just links to the actual like picture and then descriptions. And I didn't realize there's actually a Jim Lee TMNT line.
Yeah,
like that's crazy. I might have to try to track those suckers down.
Yeah. And I went through, I think, each single one. Those are just the ones that stood out in my mind because I was really looking at specifically time travel. But yeah, you could click on every single one of these and be like, oh, yeah, no, had one of those. Because there's like these mini mutant play sets at one point. And I remember I had one and it was like Donatello and he's kind of dressed up as a military guy. And he's got a bunch of little turtles that like live inside of him. And I remember that was really cool. I would love to be able to find that playset because I feel like there's just like so many little parts of it, and I was able to like meticulously put them all back inside of my Donatello.
And as a kid, that's like, man, I can actually like all my toys won't go missing, or all those little knickknacks won't go missing because they have a place.
Yeah, so it's like the Mini Mutant Turtles in Turtle playset. So if you look at that one, there is a Samurai Leonardo. There's a military Donatello, and then there's kind of like a cybernetic Mikey, and I feel like we might have had a Mikey, Leo, and a Donatello of that line.
Yeah, man, we did have so many of these. Our parents must have loved us.
Yeah, that's it.
Jeez, man, those money pit, because those things were not cheap. I'm sure they were a few bucks every single time, and then you had to buy like the whole set.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't like we just had one. It was we had multiple ones. So, I mean, I think my favorite ones are the stretch figures from the 1997 releases that just look like maybe the scariest things on the planet. Like, look how scary Shredder looks.
I got to go there. You said 97?
Yeah, it's like the very last thing. It's called stretch figures right at the bottom of the page.
Oh, yeah. They look just so derpy.
Yeah. What if the Ninja Turtles just didn't work out and and just like, hey guys.
Yeah, it's like, what if they just took a bunch of like sleeping pills and were just zombied?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's what would happen. Nice. So with that ends potentially our show, I guess, right? Like that's kind of all she wrote, all we wrote. Did we miss anything?
No, we got James Bond. I think we digressed
Yep.
a lot on some good turtle history, and you found a really interesting website. Heck, you even did some research on tracking down the actual locations of this game. So, good on you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at every alley in New York to figure out where Alley Cat Blues was, but I didn't really care that much.
Well, I think there's only literally like one alley in New York City because it's so condensed that there is
Yes,
literally
that's
like
right.
one alley left, and that's where they film
Yes.
all the New York alley scenes apparently, which is
Oh, I see. So it's like a myth, the alley of New York. It's just one.
yeah, it's just one.
All the thugs hang back
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Just innocent people get mugged.
Constantly. In between Hollywood shooting movies needing that one alley, so they just kind of like shoo out the bums or shoo out the threatening gangsters or whoever hangs around in that one back alley in New York City.
Nice. Yeah, sweet. So with that, I think that kind of ends our look at this show, kind of our big turtle game for the summer. And yeah, maybe in August we'll be coming back with a little bit more turtle stuff into the fall, or maybe we'll just carry on with our Final Fantasy. We'll see what happens after we kind of take a step back from this Turtles. We'll let Tyson think on it for a day or two, and then we can kind of decide where we want to go.
Absolutely. I guess I got a lot deciding. So if anyone has a preference and has a craving for some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reviews, let us know. Hit us up on Instagram and all the social medias and all that fun stuff.
Nice. Sweet. Yes, with that, we got nothing else. I guess we'll say bye for now and see you guys later this summer.
See you.
Bye.